The year is 1863. As the Sioux Nation lives its last years on an untouched land, a bloody civil war rages in the eastern part of the country. A hero of that war heads west for one last look at the frontier. This is the story of that man, the making of a movie, and the dream of three friends, a writer, a producer, and a director. Kevin Costner directs and stars as Lieutenant John J. Dunbar in the sweeping Western adventure Dances with Wolves.
You come in and you fire, Nick, and you tell the guys to reload, and then you'll move down this way.
I don't know why I do the things that I do. It would have been easier to do a little haunted house with three people, kill off two of them, then just follow one around. But I guess it's like the woman you love. You cannot predict the time, and you have to go with that. You can't say, well, this is not a great time. It just happens to you, and this happened to be the movie that I felt like I had some horse sense about.
What is it, sir?
Looks like a suicide.
I think it's the nature of a director to be second-guessed. I didn't know that I had the skill that a lot of people had to do the movie, but I knew the approach I would take to the movie would be probably very different than even somebody with a lot of technical expertise.
And action, Scotty!
I look for poignancy and I look for dilemma, because I think there's nothing greater than to be sitting in the audience and not being sure what you would have done. To bring a character to a moment where you're not even sure what you would do while you're eating the popcorn. That's what movies are about. They're about dilemma, and they're about trying to be poignant.
Costner produced the film with his longtime friend and colleague, Jim Wilson.
It still amazes me. I know when I read the screenplay first up, I wasn't certain just how big this was until I came out and I started to look at these kinds of sites and the prairie and started to talk numbers with Kevin. Kevin, from the get-go, wanted as big as could possibly be. Boy, I mean, yeah, starting with livestock, I mean, talk about logistics. Yeah, there are a lot of people who thought we were nuts doing it.
Dances with Wolves was written by another of Costner's oldest and closest friends, Michael Blake.
Kevin's visions don't always line up exactly with my visions. Sometimes I walk out and I look at the way something's being done and I think, gee whiz, I wouldn't do it exactly that way. There's been some times when I thought Kevin was going to fall flat on his face, that he was totally wrong about what he was doing. But he's proved himself right every time. So I don't bet against Kevin Costner. I just don't do it.
The three filmmakers met for the first time in 1981.
Yeah, the first memory of Kevin is still very vivid. I was casting the first film that I'd ever really worked on, and I happened to raise the money, so I called myself a director, and had helped write this piece with Michael Blake. I had interviewed probably 100, 150 actors for my leading man, and the guy was a prospector, but a modern-day prospector, and everybody came in with big 5-gallon hats and boots, and everything was always wrong.
I came back from lunch one day. I was parking my motorcycle out in front, and I saw this guy out of the corner of my eye walking up and down in front of the little theater where we were auditioning actors, and he seemed so intense, and he seemed so real to me.
He didn't seem to have an attitude about him like everyone else walked in with.
And he walked in, he's looked about 15 years old. But he read, and we knew that he was somebody real special.
My guts tell me we could be great together. And I always trust my guts. That's why I'm lousy at cards. I remember Jim had to make this big decision on this movie. do I let him room by himself or do I make him room with somebody else? And he decided finally that since I was carrying his picture for $500 a week, that he would give me my own room. But I remember I fell back on the bed just like you do in that snow, making one of those angel things, and I just roared at the ceiling because somebody had given me a plane ticket, had said, I'll pay you $500 to act. And I felt like a giant. Connor, you believe it, Connor. If you believe it, we will too. Look right at the lens all the time.
Who is it, Willie? They look like Pawnee.
Get the kids and get them in the house. Go on. Get them in the house. Go on, kids.
Christy! What do they want? I don't know.
Oh, now there's a big fight. Start to back up. Looking at the Pawnee, you're scared. Get on your knees, Willie. Tell her to run.
Costner cast Mary McDonnell in the part of Stands with a Fist, a white woman who's been raised by the Sioux as one of their own.
The key word involved with Stands with a Fist was woman, not girl. I wanted someone with lines on their face.
I was not very old when I came to be with the people.
For me, being, a white person, given this opportunity to get inside a culture that is just so full of spirituality and love, it's a kind of opportunity that you just don't even know how to explain or even know how to sort of sit with.
What is he? Is he chief?
No.
Takiyahu. Takiyahu. Takiyahu.
Yanka. A holy man.
Wait, just a minute.
What you doing here? Yeah. Tanka.
Anka?
Tatanka.
Buffalo.
Kevin had the strong conviction that it was going to be in Lakota with subtitles. And everybody went, oh, no, you can't do that. No, where do you think you are in France? Hey, Lena Wertmiller, eat your heart out. But that's not what we had in mind when I read the script. I read the English and the action, which sort of convinced me to go, yeah, I can go along with this.
The phone rang, and it was Jim Wilson. And he said, would you like to translate a script? And I said, I don't know about that because I've never, ever seen one. And he said, well, do you think you could? And I said, well, I don't know because I'd have to see it first. And he wanted to know if Federal Express came out to the reservation. And I said, yeah, we have one. When I came up here, I was kind of surprised because I thought at least, I have one or two that would know the language, but I didn't. They're all different tribes, so nobody could speak my language.
Lakota ki tanta hampi, mihimi cielo, mihimi cielo.
Just had language classes, just trying to teach them their lines.
Cut.
Our language is the Lakota language, the Native American tongue. And before coming here, I knew virtually nothing of that. Through this part, I've had to take language courses to understand, which brings me back to wanting to get back into my heritage, my culture, my tribal ways and wisdoms.
Every time an animal is taken to help the people live, an offering is made to the spirit of that animal, thanking the spirit of that animal for what this will help and provide. In the Lakota language, there's no word for animal, though. There's no word for animal because we regarded them as brothers and sisters.
The guys we had ride, the Native Americans, were wild, and they were great rodeo riders. You should have seen these guys walking around town. The girls would come up to them, they say, "You in this movie, Dances with Wolves?" Surfer. "Yeah, I'm in it." "Are you an extra?" "Are you a buffalo rider?" They were like surfers, though. They were like, "Check it out, dude. I do. I ride with the buffaloes." You got to be coming right in here, okay? And you got to be ahead of me. It looks like I'm ahead of you there until right now.
Kevin does, I'd say, 95% of his own stunts. We have a wonderful coordinator, Norman Howell, who doubles Kevin on his stunts, but we're both sticklers for perfection, and so that's why Kevin likes to do so many of his own stunts. He was up on the horse every day, riding again and again and again, and this is, shooting his gun.
I didn't fall off the horse. I was knocked off the horse.
Get that straight.
No, verbs are very important.
That's a particularly important one.
Verb, I was knocked off the horse. Right. I was T-boned off the horse. Well, the great thing about that moment was my stunt guide, who immediately bolted out, and he just said, "How are you? How are you?" I said, "I'm fine." And I said, "Give me your horse." And he looked at me, and he just made the decision to do it.
You know, this is a man directing the film. If he wasn't ready, then I would have had to say, "I got to do it, Kevin. I'm sorry," because somebody has to step in and say that. But he was ready. He got back on my horse and got back in there, and he got some of the best stuff.
We wanted to make sure that no buffalo got hurt, so we had to resort to some pretty exotic special effects. And hit it, Norman. Go, baby. Oh! Good, careful. Here we go! Working with animals was really frustrating. There were a lot of problems. We heard right off the bat not to use wolves. Everybody said, do not use wolves. They're incredibly difficult to work with. Kevin and I never dreamt that part of our job description would be teaching a wolf how to howl. On the scale of difficulty, they're one of the two most difficult animals to deal with. I mean, they are wild, wild animals. We saw a lot of films, looked at a lot of footage of half-breeds, of Malamutes, of Siberian Huskies, of you name it. And none of them, although in look they may look like a wolf, they didn't walk like a wolf. And this whole film is authentic. And to come out in the namesake, the picture Dances with Wolves, to not use real wolves, I think would be a travesty.
Go home, two socks. Bad wolf, bad wolf.
Background watching, no smiling, action.
She's hurt. Yeah, she's hurt.
This movie actually started out as a book. Kevin was the one that pushed me to write it. I wrote the entire book in my car, really, in L.A. I couldn't pay my rent. It was either get a job and have an apartment or write the book and be on the street. So I chose the latter.
I didn't like being a tramp.
Everything
I didn't like
packed into the car. Everything
I was a
packed into
tramp.
the car.
Jim would let Michael come sit on his bed with Teresa and read to him chapters. And Michael would say to me, "Kevin, I got this chapter," and I would just go right by. And I think Jim was the one that read it first and was the proponent. I didn't read it for 2 months after it was done.
I think it was at least 2 months.
It was a doorstop for me.
I was washing dishes in a Chinese restaurant. And there's a lot of dishes in a Chinese restaurant. You know, they got a dish for all the horseradish and flower petals and all that.
I think that we'd sent you that box full of sleeping bags and stuff like that, and you'd asked me one more time, "Did you read my book?" And that's when I just said, "Geez, that's it." And I went.
You poor guy.
And I went.
You knew there was no escape.
I went and I read this thing, and it was the clearest idea for a movie that I had ever read.
Wait. You need help. You're hurt. You need help. Let me help you.
Yeah.
You're hurt.
Yeah.
You're hurt.
Don't!
I made a promise to myself as an actor that I would never shoot the gun more than 6 times. You know, I just hated that in movies. And so it seems to me that when you make a movie that deals with Native Americans, you should be using Native Americans, and you should be using the best ones that you can find that have the most presence and the soul about them.
In the casting of this movie, one of the things that I'm so encouraged about is that the Native American people that have been cast in the movie are such human beings themselves. It's as if they've been cast perfectly for the character, which is really hard to do because the tradition of Hollywood is we need an Indian, go get an Indian. Somebody that look like an Indian, stick him here and take the picture and then send him home. Well, it's not that way this time.
From what I know of the Omaha tribe of Nebraska, of which I am a member, is we weren't a warring tribe. We wasn't a belligerent tribe. We were generous people.
We're kind of a quiet people, but we're never ever were portrayed that way till this movie. It kind of shows that, you know, that the ground is sacred to us. You know, everything is sacred to us.
Our concept of life, of the earth being a living thing, that natural forces, winds, everything is a part of life, was an alien concept to the people who came here.
When we share the pipe and smoke the pipe in a ceremony, we pray to God through this pipe. And when we smoke this pipe, the smoke carries our thoughts to the Great Spirit as it goes up.
I chose, through one way or another, to surrender my heritage. And that's one of the mistakes of life that I regret, but yet it can't be changed. And the only thing that I can do is go back and try to pick up where I left off.
Everybody pay attention. Action.
Everybody okay?
I mean, what you do is you got to see with the eyes and you go, whoom. It's that kind of thing, and it's sound that comes out of you. My God. I don't think I could direct again for a long time. I don't know where those days came from. When I look at Dances with Wolves, I even look at scenes to this day that make me sweat. I think, could I have done that again? Because there was nothing casual about this movie. There was no concession about the movie. This movie's done, and I don't know where any more of it would come from. I didn't think too much about it, you know. I think that's what petrifies us now looking back. Because we did it for all the right reasons, and now we look back and we think, gee, we used to swim, you know, one of those kind of things when you're a kid, you go swim in one of those ponds, and later on you look back and you think, did we used to go swimming in that thing? Because it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I know.
Making the movie was kind of like that. It
Very
was like,
dangerous
did we make that movie? I mean, what were we thinking about? I mean, what?
Well, I had so many people say to me, though, quietly, and friends that you would know, who would say,
"Are you?
Why this one, though?"
Every endeavor you do, people are going to say, don't do it. It's the people that go defy that to end up getting stuff done. I think that one thing he's struggling with is his aloneness. And what it does is the struggle with that is an opportunity that he doesn't realize at first is an opportunity to meet a whole race of people that begin as his neighbors and end up as people that he's really close to.